Good evening and welcome to Suffering in Silence with Evangelist Tia here on LuvBay Afrobeat Music Talk Radio. We're here with you every Friday evening at 7 p.m. Eastern. And LuvBay, we're continuing to rise out of the ashes together. Our topic on tonight is expectations in the new year. And we have with us our guest, Jennifer Peterkin, who is also the host of the Human Experience. Jen also sits on my board, Rise Out of the Ashes. She's my vice president. And we have with us on tonight TYB. Can't wait for this. TYB is the founder and producer of LuvBay Afrobeat Music Talk Radio. So I'm excited for what's going to happen on tonight, what we're going to hear, and what we're going to see. I'm just really excited. Listeners, viewers, if you have any questions or comments for our guests or our co-hosts, you can email us at sufferinginsilencedv@gmail.com. You can also text us at 437-778-3299. If you have any resources that you would like to share with us on a national or local level from your country, your community, any local organizations, or your faith community, you can also email us at sufferinginsilencedv@gmail.com. And LuvBay, I want to also let you know, if you want to reach me personally, you can call or text this number, 437-778-3299. TYB will definitely make sure that I get the messages. You can also email me at sufferinginsilencedv@gmail.com. If you want me, if you want to speak to me, if you would need a response, any kind of help at all, I'm here. And to those who've already reached out to me, I pray that I've been able to get you what you needed in that moment. But as I said before, we are real people doing this. We're doing this together. I mean, Jen and I, we're people just like you. So we know what it feels like. We know, the different times a year when holidays or just significant moments come. We have the same feelings that you do. We go through the same things that you do. And so if you need to reach me for anything, I'm here. And so there have been several people I've already responded to, and I will keep responding. You will not run into dead space when you reach out to us. With that, I want to give Jen a moment to say hello to everyone tonight.
Yes, hello. It's been a while since I feel like I've been on here, but first time in 2024. So happy New Year, everybody! So happy, so blessed to be back on LuvBay with Tia, and actually TYB. This is the first time I've done a show with you, so this is very exciting. As Tia said, I host a podcast called The Human Experience, where I travel the world and interview people about their personal stories and how what they have walked through has impacted their perspective on the world, on other people, and on God. So it's kind of runs the gamut, have a lot of different stories, have some domestic violence stories as well. Tia was actually the first guest I had on my show. And yeah, I'm actually coming up on celebrating my 1 year of releasing, or launching the podcast. So I'm excited about that and excited about premiering the Human Experience on LuvBay in 2024.
Yes. Awesome. I can't wait. And I swear I thought it was more than a year. I mean, it's wow.
I talk about it all the time.
So TYB, if you would not introduce yourself, but just greet our listeners and viewers on tonight as well.
Well, my name is Theo Boakye, and the acronym is TYB. And originally from Ghana, and a Ghanaian Canadian, and I'm an artist. I'm a musician who won many musical awards, to include the Juno Awards and Planet Africa, and it goes on. When I was growing up in Ghana, I loved radio, and radio has been an informative kind of structure that I always wanted to either be on radio or be an artist. course, being an artist superseded all the thoughts because sometimes you plan and then it goes that way. That's what they say. Man plans, but God disposes.
Yeah.
Um, so what I did was that when I came to Canada, I was in a musical group, and it went on and on and on. And to cut everything short, um, I was invited to take part in a musical project, and I took it up. And that musical project won us a Juno Award, which is Canada's equivalent to the Grammys. And after the after we had won the award, a friend of mine came and then told me that he was so excited. So he knew a friend of his who was a DJ in a radio station. So he said it was in his car, a CD. So he rushed in there to go and give the CD to the friend to play. And he got it. He got the person, but on his way out of the studio, he turned around to go and ask him when he was going to play. So coincidentally, that person was throwing the CD away. So he didn't say anything, and then he came and you know what was we're just talking about building infrastructures to disseminate a lot of information post COVID, because during COVID times, everyone needed information. So what came to mind was to create an infrastructure that would bring a lot of programs so that we'll be able to use it as a tool to entertain and then educate. So initially it was the radio station was just musical. So we started playing music and said, no, we need more information. So why don't we introduce other programs? So we introduced a lot of programs. Mostly, if you come to think about our programming, about 80 or 90% of the presenters are women.
Yes.
As we're building it up. So it is not out of malice towards men or something like that, but it was the program that we built up was that we were looking for programs that will educate rather than to entertain alone, educational and entertainment. So we had to separate them to bring up programs. And now we are getting more programs on board because we want to use it as a tool to continue that mission. The mission is to use it as a tool, a platform for every facet of our history, our geography, our traditions, our culture, our cuisines, what have you, Africa, the Caribbean, and the diaspora. Everybody has been invited onto the table. So we all put our fingers or our forks and spoons, and we all take it from one table. So that's how LuvBay was created. And I'm so glad that she accepted the invitation, and now Jennifer is also coming on board.
Yes.
So excited. That's why I'm here.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I mean, you're here and you're the reason why we're here. So
Yeah, really.
thank you for doing what you do. So as usual, we want to start with some resources, and then we're going to move into our topic for this evening. So LuvBay, we want to remind you that my nonprofit, Rise Out of the Ashes, Inc., we are still raising funds for the programs that we have, first being our immediate and emergency funding. So if you would like to support us, you can go to GoFundMe and look for our nonprofit, which is Rise Out of the Ashes, Inc. We help individuals. One of the things that we do, as I said, is the immediate emergency funding. We help individuals pay utilities, rent, their mortgage. We help them with clothing, food, medication, whatever it is that they may need in an immediate situation. Those are some of the things that we do. So if you want to help us with that, you can. I want to share Pastor Darius Daniels. He's a pastor of Change Church. He has several locations in the United States. His website is dariusdaniels.com. His YouTube channel is Darius Daniels TV. In Canada, we have the Canadian Women's Foundation. Their website is canadianwomen.org. Their phone number is 1-866-293-4483. In the UK, we have the National Domestic Abuse Helpline. Their website is www.nationaldahelpline.org.uk. Their phone number is 0808-2000-247. Or also in the UK, you can visit Women's Aid, and their website is www.womensaid, Women's Aid, with aid is AID, womensaid.org.uk. And then we have the Befrienders Volunteer Action to Prevent Suicide. You can find a helpline by country if you go to their website, which is befrienders.org. And with that, we move into our topic on this evening, which is expectations in the new year. And so on tonight, TYB, we wanted to accomplish two things. So one, we want to ask you about your personal expectations in this new year, but also we want to encourage listeners and viewers to not only expect new and great things this year for themselves, but we want to encourage everyone to do the necessary work to be prepared for those new and great things when they do come about. So, and you've already, talked to us about your background, and which I'm thankful that you did that to, bring some of us up to speed. So my first question to you is, what are you expecting in 2024?
Wow. This is very broad, though.
Any way you want it.
What my expectation for this year, for the first, the first and foremost is health and wellness. Because if you don't have health, your health in order, you have nothing. So health and wellness, and that comes first. And the second that I'm looking at is with respect to the whole world, as we say, world peace. Nothing but world peace. And having said that, I also would like to also expect that using this platform to, like your program, for instance, Suffering in Silence, the name alone is very, very attractive, because more often than not, in certain societies and in certain communities around the globe, domestic violence and domestic abuse is something that has been treated over the years as something cultural and normal.
Yes.
But I'm so happy that there are some of the episodes that you've introduced, or some of the topics that you've spoken about, and it's helped people, not from say Western world, but from South Asia. People texting that there was a point in time where, after one of your shows, a young woman who has 3 kids texted us and said that she needed help. South Asia. And there are a lot of people listening, because there are not that many platforms out there to discuss this at all. Because people don't want to come out and speak. Because, again, people think that if they come out to speak about it, you'll find themselves, in some situations that may remind somebody of what that person may have gone through. But it's okay to say it. Yes. Because if you don't speak out, nobody will hear your cry. And if you don't tell your story, as I always say, yourself, and you allow somebody to go and tell that story to somebody else. It doesn't become your story anymore.
Mm.
So you have to come out and then speak out. So I mean, your program has helped a great deal of people, and then the other programs, the mental health and all those guys. So this platform, with respect to my the expectation moving forward, is to create and bring more awareness to people who may not have had a chance to um, learn of programs like this and programs on other platforms and stuff like that, to be able um, to live very well and not to stress, because stress kills. And
Yeah.
who else? Who needs help? I mean, stress these days after
Right.
2 or 3 years being incarcerated, and then right now we are back and we are trying to get ourselves together. So we need to be open minded, research, read more, and not take things by, as somebody will say, just with a click, oh, the person said that, so let me go. We have to read, we have to research. So platforms like this are what I'm looking at. Right now, a lot of other programs, a lot of other people want to engage with us with respect to bringing programs, because I think how we've created is not like to hype anything. We give the programs as they come along. If you believe in the station, we can come up with a live program, or where we have structured programs, but the rebroadcasts of those programs can come in at any time. So if you come in here for just music 24 hours, that's the wrong radio station, because we give you enjoy and we give you information. So you'll be listening to the station, and then all of a sudden, human experience, and it is right there. Voices of the Millennials is right there, and other snippets of stuff. So my expectation is to expand it and then make it even far better. Of course, we are here for suggestions, and we're taking suggestions and stuff like that. So I think these are
So
some.
if listeners and viewers do have a suggestion, can they text? Can they email you just to share their thoughts and opinions? Where can they send that information if they want to drop some ideas in?
Yes, for those of you watching us, it's 437 778 3299, or info LuvBay, INFOLUV, LuvBay at gmail.com. Or if you Google LuvBay Afrobeat Music Talk Radio, trust me, it will take you to about 23 pages. So we are not far from anywhere. You can get hold of us.
Yes. Awesome. You can always reach TYB.
That's what I'm hearing.
Well, I love what you're doing with the LuvBay platform. I can see how it's expanding and how each program is growing, and how you're using the platform to be informational and educational, as you said. Just the encouragement with my program alone, I can see it and feel it. I'm witnessing it with Jen's platform, with you, adding her program and moving forward. So I see how you're using LuvBay to reach the expectations that you set for it in 2024. But I want to ask you about the health and wellness and world peace, because this is going to lead into the encouragement for listeners and viewers. What are you doing? How are you preparing for health and wellness in 2024? And what part are you playing in the world peace that you want to see?
Another broad topic.
But you know what? I think that's a beautiful thing, because
Oh yes.
you can the questions are broad, and it's intentional, but you can pull out what pertains to you, what is special to you, where you want to take it and go with it. I think that's a beautiful thing about expectations. You don't have to let anybody put you in a box.
That's right. Yeah, on the health and wellness front, In fact, with the inception of the station, one of the first areas that we wanted to um, tackle was mental health, because mental health is like domestic abuse and domestic violence or violence against women and stuff.
Yes.
Some of the programs that became or are a taboo, it's a no-go area, that people are afraid to come in there and express themselves and speak and all those kind of stuff. Yeah, one of the first programs was mental health. So we initially were giving generalities in terms of topics, different topics, because I am a father of a young man who went through that. It's after I lost a son went through his problems and stuff like that. But this is just to say that all of us have mental health issues. We can never dissociate one from the other. So I saw the need to use it as a platform to educate people. So we sought and we got a psychotherapist, Dr. Tapo. Dr. Tapo, if you're listening, thank you for everything that you do every Monday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So what we do is she uses the platform to address so many different topics, a lot of them. And we've been getting tons and tons of emails, people text their problems in and what they're going through, and then she takes her time to address it. So on that front, I think we are doing our best. And your show too bothers on mental health too, right? And also the Gems of Life with Fadwa also speaks in the general, relationships. And so there are that connecting kind of programming that we strategically put on the table. So on the health and wellness stuff, that's exactly where we are right now. On a personal level, yes, I have to eat well,
Yes.
and running a 24-hour radio station is not an easy thing. The coordination, we have students, we have interns, we have a lot, but still, it's not something that it's not easy, but it's a labor of love. Somebody has got to do it, and this is also one thing for listeners to know that it's a not-for-profit community radio station. And honestly, for the love of sharing information, run out the station out of pocket. But that's okay. And since its inception, that is exactly where we are, and we are happy where we are right now because against all odds, we've reached a place where we've been we've been put on notice that hey, we are looking at you.
Yeah.
To such an extent that I think we are one of the first online radio stations to interview a head of state. And so we got the privilege. We were given the privilege to interview the Prime Minister of Canada and also other world leaders and airline executives and stuff like that. So all these things, comes up and it gives us that excitement. That excitement also helps us to, in terms of our mental health. So once you achieve something and you are going the right way, that's great.
Now, so how do you envision, or what does your part look like in achieving world peace?
World peace is to be able to introduce programs where we'll be able to share our opinions. Because you see, at the end of the day, if we look at our fingers, they are not all the same length, but they come from one arm. In the same vein that if we have problems within our family structure, no matter what it is, we resolve it. So we have to start talking to each other. We have to start teaching the children. We have to start them from kindergarten and start building that for them to be able to know who they are as humans. Because how I see the whole world is that if you don't talk to each other, you misunderstand.
Yes.
Because right now we have the cell phones, iPhone 15, iPhone, whatever. It's the whole world right in front of us. Any information that you need, you should be able to get it there. I'm not saying that everything that you read, the gospel truth, no.
Mm.
But you have to be able to discern the truth from the fake. So by using that as a platform, you create programs where you'll be able to come there and then discuss issues, bring topics, discuss it. No fighting. You agree to disagree, and that is how the whole world should move on. Because at the end of the day, as I always say, we belong to one race, and that is the human race.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, I think what you're doing is awesome. When you talk about world peace, if you just look at LuvBay itself, if I'm not mistaken, the radio program reaches over 110 countries. The hosts themselves, you have men, women, you have African Americans, Caucasian, you have Christians, you have those in the Muslim faith community, you have older, and then you have younger hosts. Um, I really believe that LuvBay is a mix of what you're trying to achieve. So even if you just put all your hosts together, like we some kind of way we have to take a group picture because and we're all
Yes, yeah.
like we are literally all over the world. But if we could come together some kind of way, like if you had a picture of us all, it's like
That's
yeah,
right.
we represent a whole lot of categories within the human race. That's a beautiful thing. So I love your objective on world peace and
And can I suggest that there's one thing that I think as part of the expectation is that we have a program, Voices of the Millennials, and the Voices of the Millennials, I created it, and our first host, a young man, very, very great indeed. Prince I, he hosted it, and one day he came around and said, you know what, when I came to Canada, or my parents came to Canada, um, we didn't have much. Then now I'm working, I'm all right. So can we create a scholarship fund for underprivileged or young men and women within the community who are attending schools? We didn't flinch, and I said, "We got it." So we used about 3 months to plan it, and we did the first one last 2 years. Oh, 2024, 2022, in July of last year, last 2 years, if I can put it. And we offered through personal donations and others. We're able to give free scholarships to students within the community and beyond. And then last year, 2023, we increased it to 4 students. So who knows, God willing, next year or this year,
yeah, this year.
2024, yeah, 2024, maybe, yeah, we are thinking of expanding it even outside of North America, and to even if we can give something to some young person in South America, Brazil, or in Kenya or Burundi or somewhere, I think it will work worth it. So we put all this kind of stuff into it. So um, it's exciting doing it. I love what we're doing, and everybody from students and everybody loves what we're doing. It's a labor of love.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's amazing when you love what you do. You put your best foot forward. You put your energy and your time in it, and it shows. This radio station shows the work, the effort, the love that you put into it. And again, I'm appreciative of it. There have been so many platforms that I've been invited to, and my voice was, well, they tried to muzzle or tried to change what I needed to say or what I felt like I wanted to say because, it was important. But LuvBay has not done that.
No.
I have the freedom to do what I need to do and say what I need to say because what Jen and I do is not pretty. It's not. And so there is no way that we can give you a clean version of domestic violence. That just does not happen. That doesn't exist. And so we've never been censored. We've never been told that's too hard, is too much. You can't, we've really been encouraged to do what we need to do, which is be honest and be truthful. And so I can say I appreciate that very much. I think the scholarships that you're doing, that's a beautiful thing, being attentive to young people. Um, and I wanted to say, I'll say this, and then I'll go to Jen for a question or a comment. But I love how when you said health and wellness, you did not limit that to the aspect of just the physical part. You talked about the mental wellness. And a lot of people, when they say health and wellness in a new year, like, oh, I'm going to the gym, I'm going to diet, I'm going to start running, I'm going to start walking. And we bypassed the mental health, the mental wellness, because it is truly important. If you can't think straight, if you're not thinking right, there's no way you're going to feel right. And I know for me personally, if my thoughts, my emotions, if my mind is not together, I can't function physically the way that I'm supposed to. I can't. So I appreciate even the effort that you're putting into that part, the mental wellness, because it's hugely, hugely important. And some of us, so many of us are functioning. We're going day to day doing what we do. A lot of us look okay. Okay.
You're right. You're right.
Mentally, we're dealing with issues. So I think that's a beautiful thing to bring it to the forefront and deal with it and not try to hide. To again, not try to make everything look pretty because it's not. Sometimes you have to be able to say, I'm not okay, and it's okay to not be okay. And I might not have all the answers for you, but here's a number that you can call, a website that you can visit, some area or resource that you can use to help, just to getting rid of the stigma. It's a beautiful thing. And mental wellness does tie into domestic violence and so many other areas. So I appreciate that. I think that's a beautiful thing. Jen, do you have
Thank you.
a question or comment?
Yeah, I was just gonna kind of say the same thing of we know so much as more and more research is done on domestic violence that what affects people most is the emotional and psychological abuse, more so than the physical abuse. And that's not to say that the physical abuse isn't horrifying. It is. But the point is that it all matters and it all goes hand in hand. And we know that our bodies and our minds work in tandem with each other. You cannot separate them. So if your mind is not doing well, your body's not going to be doing well. So yeah, it's very important to take care of both aspects of your wellness and your well-being. And just tying in, I guess, then with expectations is, the idea that your health and your well-being matters. And if that doesn't mean that if that means you can't live up to somebody else's expectations, then that's fine. You don't need to. You shouldn't be living up to anybody else's expectations anyway. But yeah, I mean, I know that's not necessarily the expectations we were talking about, but
No, but I think that is an expectation because I think there are some individuals who are trying to find a way to get out from under the thumb of someone else. Because I think in a way, that's abuse. Because some perpetrators try to push their expectations on you. You have to do what I say. You have to wear what I tell you to wear. You have to go where I tell you to go. I think those unrealistic, unhealthy expectations, I think that is a part of it. And if you're in a situation, you very well have the right and you should have the expectation of, I'm going to get out from under somebody else's expectations of me.
Mhm.
So I think you hit the nail on the head. I do.
Perfect. TYB, I did want to ask about, since we're talking about the radio so much, which I echo everything Tia said. I mean, you guys have been such a blessing to us and to the message and the mission, and it's incredible because, as you said, there is nobody else really out there. You would be hard pressed to find a program that is allowed to do what we're allowed to do. What um what kind of gave you guys like the desire to say, yeah, let's give them a platform. Let's let them run wild.
You know, yeah, it all boils down to the fact that I was talking about. It was during COVID time that a lot of issues that we hitherto didn't know existed
Mhm.
appeared. So there's a good side of COVID and a very bad side of COVID.
Mhm.
The good side being it exposed how vulnerable we are
Mm.
as people. You know, family, father, mother, kids, all in the same house throughout the year, 24/7. Weekend, they spend it together, they go holiday together, all of a sudden COVID comes. They all are bundled in one room. Tensions go up, domestic abuse. It was there. The statistics show that domestic violence and domestic abuse showed up during that time. So if I see a program like that, that would come out to educate people that, okay, you know what? We are one and the same. We are all, we don't have to behave like crabs in a bucket, run all over ourselves. So some of the programs were strategically, put there. I quite remember during one of the mental health programs, the one we had just started, a lady called and we're talking about um, stress. And this lady, this woman called and said, you know what? My daughter asked me a question. And the question was, Mommy, why are you not smiling?
Mm.
And the kid was 4 years old.
Oh.
So what came no, what came to mind was that well, before we always and almost always as adults are sometimes selfish. See, when COVID struck, we were thinking about me, 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 me. We never thought about those young kids. We did it. It's, oh, I don't want to go out. I don't want to go out all. It wasn't a we anymore. So everybody was bundled up in there. So many problems arose. So um, COVID rather strategized us to bring up more programs. We're even thinking about seniors, right?
Yeah.
Seniors. And we're also thinking about people with disabilities. What I say is that people use the word handicap. No, we are handy capable, but not incapable, not handicapped. We are handy capable, but not handicapped. So we are going to introduce a new program to address disability issues.
Oh, that is awesome.
That
We
is
have another program that we have already signed a memorandum of understanding that is going to address issues on aging.
very good.
So there are so many things that's in the pipeline, and we we will do it. I mean, we will do it. And as a matter of fact, next month we are introducing a new program called Community Conversations, and this is where I address the question on world peace. This year, community conversations bring up a topic.
Hmm.
We call it to agree to disagree. That's the way that we can use it as a platform to be able to talk to each other.
Love that.
So we look at certain things, in there, and then let's say, okay, let's plug that hole. Let's do this. And there's so many things out there that we don't care how many programs that we bring. If it's going to be profitable and for somebody, to benefit from it, then that's fine. That's fine.
Well, it's benefiting us because the more programs you bring, the more hosts you have, the more guests we have.
That's right.
Want to be back with us in March. But we've had Fawa on a program a couple times of Ingrid Gentles, Dr. Marie McDonald. It's great. So actually, our fellow hosts have made wonderful guests to interview, to be with, and to actually come and co-host with us at times. So that's awesome. I would love to have some of those individuals come and talk with us, because again, dealing with domestic violence crosses all of those areas. When you're dealing with those who have disabilities, senior citizens, when you're dealing with aging, our young people, domestic violence crosses every area. It really does. It's a shame and it's hard, and I wish it wasn't so, but we are all familiar with domestic violence, even if we don't realize it. Even if we don't know what it is, we don't know what to call it, because it's been normalized such throughout all of our lives and around the world. Even if we don't know what we're looking at, domestic violence has touched us all in all these different.
And you did a program, to add to what you said, you did a program of domestic violence in the Muslim faith.
Yes.
And then domestic violence in the Jewish faith. As a matter of fact, a friend of mine, who is a Muslim, there were some issues that the discussion touched on that he didn't know. He didn't know. He said it exposed them to so many things that he felt was there, but it's a no-go area. But then the program exposed it for him to understand. So that's the essence of the whole thing, to use it as a platform to teach people. And then obviously the one on the Jewish faith was the same thing. But sometimes, when it comes to censorship, there's no censorship with respect to this.
Yes.
When it comes to domestic violence or domestic, it has no bearing. You have to be able to come out and speak, to seek help, to seek assistance. But more often than not, a lot of people out there don't, I didn't know that, I don't know that, I don't know. Because we don't have the time to research. The attention span of people right now is getting shorter and shorter and shorter. So as soon as they look at it, they just go. So, you know what? It's all well and good. But I have a question for both of you. You don't address issues on let me put it this way. When we talk about suffering in silence, everything that comes to mind, women. How about men? Do you believe that men also suffering in silence?
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
Big
and
time.
I mean, so we always include men as being a part of the conversation when we talk about domestic violence. But even beyond domestic violence, absolutely, there are areas where men suffer. Men suffer differently because they are men, and because the world looks at men differently. You're supposed to be the strong one. You're supposed to be the smart one. You're supposed to be the protector. You're supposed to have everything all together. So it may not be domestic violence. It could be mental health issues. It could be financial issues. It could be, trying to find a job, or feeling like you're stuck in a job that, you don't like and you want to get somewhere else, or you want to move further in your education, or facing issues being a father. Maybe you don't feel adequate. And it's really hard. I mean, I know a lot of men who did not have fathers in their lives. Now they're trying to do it the right way. And so it's like, how am I supposed to be a husband? How am I supposed to be a father? Nobody showed me. Nobody taught me. So I truly believe there are several areas that men suffer in. And I think men, on some levels, men suffer differently, because, again, the world looks at them different. Like, you are supposed to have it all together. Like, you have to have all the answers because you're a man. So I do believe that men suffer, and they need just as much help as women do in areas.
Agreed. I agree that it's different. I mean, I think it's all a symptom of the same infrastructure that we're all living in. But ultimately, I think, especially where domestic violence is concerned, I think there are a lot more men in abusive relationships than even they realize, right? Because we are trying to have this conversation over and over again about how domestic violence is more than just physical violence.
Mm-hmm.
It's much more expansive, much more permeating, and when you get down to it, physical violence is such a small sliver of it that doesn't even touch like the deeper roots of what's going on, right? And so when we talk about domestic violence, people automatically go to, well, physical violence, and men can't be physically violent towards, or women can't be physically violent towards men in that way and it be abusive. I mean, first of all, that's not true. But second of all, when we're talking about who is suffering and what they're suffering from, I think men would be shocked to know themselves that they're in abusive relationships, right? I mean, and we know that for women too. Like women don't know they're in abusive relationships.
Sisterhood, yeah.
I think men even more so don't realize that they're in abusive relationships.
Yeah.
And just at large, there's this kind of cognitive dissonance in what what is allowed to be an abusive relationship, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
we kind of want to just have it in this bubble of marriage or dating, and it's like any human that is in relationship with another human has the potential to be abusive, right? Or to be abused.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we talk about things like our boundaries and awareness and knowing how to kind of recognize and then push back against these type of behaviors, it's not just for women and it's not just for people in romantic relationships, it's for human beings in general.
Yes, it is. I mean, I've what really helps when you're dealing with an individual, male or female, when you're talking about abuse, it helps to show them the power and control wheel so they can see it for themselves.
Yeah.
I've had several conversations with different men who may say things they think they're just blowing off steam, and it's just because what's happening to them is normal in their minds. But I've had men say to me, I have to get straight home after work. I can't go spend time with my friends. They're all going to happy hour. I can't go. And they look really sad. They're despondent. They're really upset about it. And they're talking to me about it. They're describing like, that's not normal. That's not. Now, you may have been doing it every day. It may have, maybe it was happening for, a couple years or whatever, however long you've been married, but that's not normal. That's abuse. And then I show them the power control wheel. I'm like, wow, that's happening to me. They just couldn't put the words to it. Not only that, but some men, it's like they feel like it's normal. And then they go into, well, this is the ball and chain routine of being married. We're all in front of our friends, and she raised her voice at me. She yelled at me and, called me names. And, I just laughed it off. Okay, well, you just described verbal abuse. That's nothing is okay about that. Because it's coming from a woman directed towards a man does not make it okay. No one should be yelling at anybody, calling them out of their name, embarrassing them in front of family and friends. Or a huge one, that men talk about is finances. Like, she gets to go spend whatever she wants, but I have to report every dime that I give to her. What you just described is financial abuse. But it's just become normalized. I have known men who have come to me and said, I bought my wife a gift and she got mad at me because I didn't check with her first, because I didn't get her permission. I bought the gift for her. I scheduled us to go on a trip to Paris and she freaked out. She started throwing things, yelling and screaming. What you just described is domestic violence. So men do suffer, and I'm quite sure. I can't even tell you what the numbers are, but I know it's higher. I think the national domestic number, I think it says maybe 1 in 7 men are abused. I'm quite sure that number is higher than that because
Oh,
men aren't going to say anything. I
we
mean,
don't talk about it.
they don't talk about it. It's like I'm gonna fix this on my own, or I'm going to deal with it. I've ran into so many men who said, "I'll just deal with it. I can't change it," and it's like they take on that unhealthy attitude. I'm just going to deal with it. I'll get through it. I'll suffer. Like that's going to make them a man. That's not what a man is. No, a man, you can speak up for yourself. You can say, this is enough. I'm not dealing with it. Create healthy boundaries for yourself. That's being a healthy, mature man. Staying in a situation, allowing it to happen, allowing yourself to suffer, that's not a man. The same thing I would say to a woman. That's not you being a woman. That's not you just toughening up and I can take it, I can get through it. No, if you are able to leave a situation, if you are able to get help for yourself and you don't, then you're just subjecting yourself to more violence, be it physical, emotional, or mental. That doesn't make you a man to stay and take it. It doesn't. It makes you a man to stand up for yourself. And you don't intentionally hurt another person because they hurt you. But if you can get away from the situation, yes, that is manly, that is mature, that is healthy. So, we never forget about men and what we do because they are as important.
There absolutely needs to be more resources out there for men in the domestic violence space. And also, as you're saying, TYB, in the mental wellness space in general, I absolutely believe that. Just as we tell women that in order to leave your situation, you have to be ready to do that. Like you have to be the one to actually walk out the door, right? Like all of the resources are there and it's great that people can use them, but you still have to be the one to make the decision to leave. And I think men definitely need to be empowered to make that decision as well. Because I agree with you, Tia. I think that there's a lot of men, as there are women, that feel like, oh, I can't break up my family. When we're talking about domestic violence within a romantic relationship or a family relationship context, I can't break up my family. I can't be the one to leave. And we've said this before, that the leaving, nobody leaves a happy relationship. Nobody leaves a functioning relationship, right? So the person that actually does the leaving is most likely not the person that broke things to begin with in this context, right? So yeah, I think there need to be more resources for sure for men worldwide. And I know that living in North America, we have a little bit more as closed off as men can be to the conversation. It's more open here than it is in other places in the world. But yeah, we would love to see more resources out there for men. And, when T is talking about what we do with Rise Out of the Ashes and our rapid response programming, that is not just for women. That is for anybody that needs help within a domestic violence situation.
Exactly.
Just like yeah, and now I get it because as men, no matter what, you'll just take it. Yes, because I mean, I don't want my friend to know that even my wife slapped me, or I don't want to know my friend to know that even if I go home, I have to cook for myself. I don't want that. And then that is where the suffering in silence begins because they're not able to talk to anybody. They bottle it inside, and what happens? One day you hear the person has snapped, or the person has taken his or her life, or just disappears. Right. So it's a very important kind of topic that I think that should be reinforced for men to know that what, it's not right to be silent. Because
Yes.
you do that at your own peril. So I think topics like that, would be better served because There are a lot of men out there. Right? Trust me. I
Yes.
was at I was at a walk-in clinic, and I saw this young man. He started talking to himself. So I went and sat by him and said, "What is this?" And it was because of this that he was working, and he was supposed to come and take the baby to see the doctor, and he was late and he was berated and all those kind of stuff. He said, I don't know what to do, so just have to calm him down. And I gave him my number, and after the fact, I called him periodically to see how he's doing, and I think he's holding out.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So a lot of men, suffer in silence. But if the moment you talk about suffering in silence, the thing that goes into people's mind is about women, but it's not so.
Yeah. And but we make it a point, at least I know Jen and I do, and I mean everyone who I work with in advocacy, we make it a point that men are included in this as well. All the resources we share, these same numbers and websites, they're available to men as well. So if you are a man going through an issue, whether you're in a heterosexual relationship, a homosexual relationship, whatever it is, it does not matter. If you identify as male, you can get help from any of these resources. Now there are some differences, but if you call your national number or hotline, they should be able to direct you to where you need to go, because we know that there are some shelters that are only for women. There are some shelters that are only for women and children, but there are shelters that are for men. And there are even issues with the shelters that are for women and children, because some of them, if boys are over a certain age, and I believe it might be some of them are like 8 years old. If a boy is over 8 years old, he won't be allowed into specific shelters. So the issues with men really, they don't start when they become men. I mean, they're dealing with issues as little boys. So to go through a domestic violence situation as a child, you see your mother going through this. And if you're over 8 years old, if she has to leave and go stay in a particular shelter, you can't go with her. So that's adding more trauma on top of the trauma from domestic violence. And I believe that that is something, if that child does not get help for it, that's something that he would carry, through his younger years and into his adult years. And it could be the reason why he becomes an abuser or why he becomes abused. So I know the systems are not perfect. But again, just like we tell women, if you need help, you keep searching until you find what it is that you need. And I know, so with that, we are just under the hour, but there's one more point that I wanted to make. And so we were talking about men, and so I thought of that it actually is a scenario that I went through with a man. So before we leave tonight, and I'll ask you to share your thoughts on it as well, I wanted to touch on the difference between expecting new things to happen and waiting for or wanting unrealistic expectations to come to pass. Right? So it's one thing if you're just expecting some new things to come about in 2024. You're looking for some great things. That's one thing. But if you are waiting for something that is just unrealistic, something that is not possible, something that probably should not happen, you need to evaluate where you are. You need to evaluate the space that you're in. And again, talking about men, the example that came to me is that some time ago, I counseled a gentleman who was seriously hurt because of domestic violence from his ex-partner. And this gentleman was unrecognizable because of the violence that he suffered after the beating of his ex-partner. Now, he's been physically separated from his ex-partner for some time, the better part of a year. But recently, this person has been communicating with his ex-partner. They've been talking on the phone for a while, every day. And so now he's hopeful that his ex-partner is changing. because now the ex-partner is being nice. But at the same time, the ex-partner is blaming him for leaving. Like, it's your fault, that you left. You're making him feel bad about it. And also neglecting that this person was actually physically abused by your hands. So, in counseling this person, what I had to do, and I never tell anybody what to do. You don't do that. You don't force somebody to go in one direction or another. But I had to point out several things. So first of all, we talked about the honeymoon period, where that time is always nice. Okay, this person hurt you, but now they're being nice. You're away from them, and they want you to come back. We talked about perpetrators not taking accountability for their actions. Because clearly it's still being pushed on you. Like, you just got up and left for no reason. Forget that you were in a hospital for, a couple weeks recovering. It's like that part of the story doesn't exist anymore. We talked about manipulation, how perpetrators can blame you for leaving, again, as if you just decided to get up and walked out the door for no reason. And they make you feel bad for doing what you need to do to protect yourself, for doing what you need to do to be healthy, to be whole, to be safe. And then we talked about really not forgetting the real reason on why you're currently separated, because this is not a pretty little story. So the conversations may be nice. You may get those warm and fuzzy feelings. You may be comforted by hearing the voice of your ex-partner. But this person has shown you no real proof that they've changed or that they're trying to change. So basically, before you get caught up in the honeymoon phase, you got to be realistic with yourself. Be honest with yourself. Your ex-partner tried to kill you. Like, you left for a reason. You can't forget that. So you cannot have your head in the clouds when you're feeling, lonely, or if you're feeling just, soft and mushy, whatever. You have to remember the truth as the truth happened. So again, there is a difference between expecting something great to happen and working towards it, and then setting yourself up for something that's unrealistic. And even that doesn't have to be an issue dealing with domestic violence. It could be if you want to go back to school, you actually have to fill out some applications. You got to do some work. You need to talk to, whatever school you want to go to. You have to be in a position to be able to do that. You can't go to college if you haven't finished high school. If you didn't finish high school, you need to get your GED, and then you go through the process. You got to complete one step before you go to the next. If you want to go to college, how are you going to pay for it? Are you going to pay for it out of pocket? Or are you going to do financial aid? Like, you have to have a plan. You can't just get up and say, I'm going to do this. I'm going to create a plan for a scholarship fund. All right, what's the plan? Right? So I'm sure TYB had to think about that. What are you going to do? How is this going to come about? You can't just say it and then it's just there, and like money is going to fall out the sky. So that was the last point that I wanted to make on tonight. And, and if you two could just to give your thoughts towards that, because I don't want to crush anybody's dream. I don't. But you have to be real. You have to be true. You got to be honest with yourself. So TYB, you want to go first?
Yeah, thank you for inviting me in the first place for to be a part of the program. And I enjoy every bit of the program, whether I'm on air or off air. And what I would like to say is that for the expectation, one has got to set up a goal and work towards it. If you don't have a goal, you don't have anything. Because you have to set your mind on something and work, tirelessly towards it. Because the people who have made it, they didn't just sit down for manna to fall from heaven.
Right.
They had to work very hard. So if you set up an unrealistic goal, it's like me. If you tell me that, TYB, you know what, I can give you, or can you give me, say, $1 million? I'll just laugh at you and then walk away. Because it's unrealistic. I don't have it. But then if you ask me, TYB, can I have $50? Yes, I can. because I can afford it. But I won't put anything on top of my shoulders where I cannot reach and touch it.
Yeah.
It brings problems, mental health problems, and personal health problems. So work towards your goal, and then you can get it if you really want it.
Well, I think that was beautiful. What you said, I can afford it. I think that is a beautiful attachment to put with your expectations. This is what I expect. Now, can you afford it? Can you afford what that expectation is going to cost you? If that expectation is going to cost your peace, can you afford that? If it's going to cost you whatever amount of money, can you afford that? If it's going to cause you or cost you being physically hurt, can you afford that? Can you afford to laugh and smile for a couple weeks and then you probably end up in a hospital again? Can you afford that process, dealing with that trauma again? I think that was a very good statement. Can you afford it? Yes. So Jen, we are over the hour, but so Jen, if you would close us with your final thoughts on this discussion of expectations on this evening.
Sure. I think I'll go a little in a slightly different direction with it and just say that the only expectations we can realistically have is for ourselves. We cannot have expectations on other people or other things because we have no control over that. And so we are setting ourselves up for, at best, disappointment, and at worst, a lot of hurt. When we assign our expectations to other people. So, for example, with your the situation you were describing, Tia, when we assign, we project our expectations because we want things to be a certain way. We want something to be true. We want people to be who we think they are capable of being. And sometimes the best thing we can do is just walk away or cut ties because if an entire relationship is based on you waiting for them to meet your expectations, then that's probably not a relationship that you should be in. So, it should be symbiotic. It should be people working together to create life together. So, yeah, keep your expectations on yourself and your goals and what, you're achieving, because that's the only thing that you can control.
Well, I think that is another beautiful statement. Focus on your expectations of yourself because we can't control other people. That was beautiful. I thank you both so much for being with us. TYB, I'm quite sure we're going to get back on the program at some time. But thank you so much for being here. Thank you, Jen, for being with us. LuvBay, if you want to catch up on previous episodes of our program, you can visit our YouTube channel, which is Suffering in Silence TV. We thank you for joining Suffering in Silence with Evangelist Tia here on Afrobeat Music Talk Radio. We're here with you every Friday evening at 7 p.m. Eastern. LuvBay, we're continuing to rise out of the ashes together. Expect great things for yourself, from yourself, and this year. Have a good evening.